Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. And today we have a very unique person. He's someone I haven't seen such a person before because true visionary. His name is Barry Taitz, and he's a lifelong entrepreneur. He built a successful business in his hometown in Cape Town, South Africa. And that wasn't enough, because he had a vision to create more innovative products and then bring it to America. So he moved over here, and his strength is he builds innovative products, comes up with these unique ideas, but not only unique, but also generating cash. So that's what he does. CEO Publication actually rated him one of the top 20 CEOs in the USA edition. And his company specializes in all types of products to do with prepaid telephony. So with that, Barry, you've been on Amazon for a long time, and you thought that you've seen it all. And recently you run into something that you've never seen before. So tell us about that. And let's start with that, and tell us about what you're doing about it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we've had an unbelievable rise, unbelievable start to Amazon over the last 3 years. Just to give you some background, between 2019 and 2020, we were the fastest growing business customer on Amazon. So everything's going very well. Things are going nicely. You know, you're getting the right products and the right mix. All of a sudden, I had to go to South Africa for a few months towards the end of the year to do all my deals and to do some stuff with the brand. And then lo and behold, my Amazon account gets completely blocked. It gets hijacked. My Seller Central account gets completely hacked. Can't get into the bank account. Can't get hold of anyone at Amazon. Use about my 5 or 6 staff. They have no idea. No one at Amazon gets back to them. And then all of a sudden, they start sending all the stock back. We're getting thousands of calls on our website. We love your products. We love your PPE. We need the masks. There's another inflow now, and we're completely locked out. So as of the last 3-4 months, we've been trying to sort it out. I've been trying to get hold of consultants, and no one can give me an answer. No one at Amazon gets back to me. I've now got an ex-Amazon employee that's looking at it. Someone gave me a lead, and I've reached out to him, and they're looking at it. And it's very, very frustrating, because you've built this massive brand, and we're launching travel sims for all over the world, you know, for America, as everyone overcomes this Omicron virus. And that's going to be one of the most exciting products probably ever to hit the US market. So now we just delayed to try and get our Amazon right. We're getting container loads of stock coming back to my warehouse in California. So yeah, we just carry on the process. It's very frustrating.
So just to be clear, this is not a situation where Amazon suspended you or told you cannot sell anymore. This is somebody else actually hacking into your account and taking control of your account. And in the process, you lost all access.
Yeah. So we've been suspended 2 or 3 times in the past, as most people do, especially when you do so well on certain of the lines. You know, it causes conflict of interest. But this time, my whole account has been hacked. I can't get into my bank account. I can't get money out. We can't tell them to move stock, because I've reopened a warehouse in Boca Raton and in Florida. We can't get hold of anyone, and it's just this. It's such a travesty of justice. They're sending all the products back.
So you mentioned that you reached out to a former Amazon employee. This is just an employee or someone who works on handling cases like this?
So it's someone that works on handling cases,
Okay.
because you know, how it works is you think it will get solved this week. Then the people tell you it's next week. And then you go into a line and you go into a queue. And then it was December, and then it was January. And we're opening up businesses in Ethiopia, and we're doing stuff in Kenya. So this person now consults how to fix problems.
I see. So what I'm hearing from you is really, when you have a problem like this, solving it on your own is really out of the question, right? I mean, it's because you run into a brick wall. Nobody's talking to you. You don't know how to escalate it, who to escalate it to, right?
Yeah. So it's funny, when I was doing amazingly well, which wasn't so long ago, the top executives with Amazon were on my account. They were going to give me marketing support. They were doing everything. They wanted $100 million in sales this year on the telephone side. Then you don't hear from them. So when there's money and targets to be made, then they'll throw support. But when there's a problem, and because I'm a foreigner, you know, maybe they don't take me seriously enough, or I don't know all the right people, but it's we've gone through a minefield, and we're no closer to getting it solved. And we just get hundreds and hundreds of emails all the time that my people are answering. Why can't we buy your products? We love your products. So I said, just be patient. We're even building another range,
Yeah.
you know,
for
Amazon 2.1.
For the listeners' benefit, the structure that they built in Amazon in terms of managing situations like this, you're right. When you're doing well, or even when you're not doing so well, in other words, your performance is really, there's no violation or nothing, but you're just simply underperforming. Some of your metrics are suffering. Even then, people reach out to you if you are an established seller and say, what's happening here? So I've seen that happen with my own account, some of my clients. So they do that. But the minute that there is something to do with the account status, whether it's a situation like you have, where security is breached, or seller performance issue, seller performance team gets in, and now everybody becomes hands-off. Even the top of the guy, the top of the company is not going to touch it, because they have processes and that's what they follow. And these seller performance team members, I look at them like they are the immigration officer in the airport. You know, once he says no, nobody is going to override it. So that's how they are. And unfortunately, they have a process. You have to follow the process, and it takes time. And yes, you cannot do it on your own. You need to have experts helping you, because it needs escalation, and you don't know where to escalate. You just keep sending the same email.
No one returns my email. I haven't heard a word from Amazon in 3-4 months, and they're sitting with my money. I think it's a couple of $100,000 sitting in their account. I don't even know. I mean,
yeah.
How bad is that?
So just to give a perspective to the kind of size of the account you are operating, give us some range of revenues you were doing 2019, 2020, or any time before that, so that we have an idea.
So from between 2019 and 2020, we hit about $10 million as a startup through COVID, in a pandemic, in a foreign market for me. So we started getting a lot of traction. And then, you know, we were in the COVID store, then we were out of the COVID store. And then I had the N95 masks. Then they suspended the masks. And then I did very well on the KN95 masks. Some days we were doing $180,000 a day on the KN95 because I wasn't price gouging. We were making a small profit. We actually became number one on that listing, and we bought so much stock. And then Amazon kicked us off that listing. So we paid all the marketing money to get to number one. And then Amazon kicked us off because they were selling it, I think, at $70, and we were selling it at $39. And it was the exact same product. So sometimes in life, you know, I'll tell it as it is, you become a product of your own success. Yes. So we did so well with the pricing and the marketing, and I have the best graphic teams around the world, that Amazon just picked up on us and they kicked us off the listing. So, sometimes, and I think I was about 35 products. I was number one, mostly in the telecommunications section. And on the Bluetooth section, where I think I had 3 out of the top 10 products on one of the websites. You become a product of your own success. Everyone starts advertising on your page. Everyone wants to, Bluebeat Digital. It's this funky name. It's got innovating things. And then everyone starts advertising on your page. I mean, at one stage, I think I had 850 products. I think Apple was on every single one of my products, and Beats by Dre, because when BBD sounds similar to Beats by Dre, and we had similar products, and we weren't smashing the price out of everything. We were actually, as I was telling you the other day, it's from the farm to the table. Yeah. The secret that we got to was no middleman.
So this actually is a good segue to my next question. So what do you see as the biggest opportunities and the challenges when you're selling on Amazon?
So the challenges are, at one stage on my account, I was 7 million% up versus year on year. So sometimes, if I take back my learnings from the last 3 years, we grew too quickly. Sometimes we were number one in luggage. We were doing very well on the phones. Whatever phones we put on Amazon sold out. We were doing clever bundling deals. So sometimes, there's twofold to that. You got to own all your own products, because we had HP and Westinghouse and Philips. We couldn't even get our Philips batteries listed. There was so much politics. So my advice is grow at your own speed. And for round 2, we're only going to be doing Bluebeat Digital products. We're not going to be pushing, we had some of the biggest brands. I just mentioned Philips and HP and Westinghouse. It's better to push your own brand. Then no one can change the rule, and there's no map pricing, and there's no violations. If you own the brand, then you're building something. If it's someone else's brand, you're at the mercy of whatever their 30-day rotation decision is.
Yeah. So that's your biggest point. Instead of doing arbitration and get into territories of all kinds of regulations, so to speak, either Amazon or others obviously trying to take it away from you. Instead, just focus on your private label product and build it up slowly. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. One of the telecommunications company gave us their exact product to sell, and we white label a Bluebeat Digital. And I think we were selling about 10 or 20 of their products a day. And under Bluebeat Digital, we were selling 200. So we made our supplier jealous of our own success, because the brand had so much brand loyalty that we outsold it. So we were selling their product. It was just white labeled, but then they didn't want us. Then they stopped allowing us to sell their product, because my product, which was their product, was outselling them. So you almost, when you white label, I say white label is not even good enough. You have to be the whole brand owner, from the ecosystem, from the factories overseas to the product, so you don't become that. And then as a result, I wasn't allowed to sell their product, because they thought if I could outsell their product 20 or 30 to 1 under the BBD brand, they even came up with another brand. So as I said, you become your success when you grow too quickly plays against you.
Yeah. So tell us about the time you decided to become an Amazon seller. Why? What was the reason, and how did you come to that decision?
So when I left South Africa, I came here. I've been very successful in the informal market, and to get to know the American market, it was much more online. So I hired about 2 or 3 guys that had Amazon experience. We started the startup, and it was I had all the sourcing ability, I had the brand. So it was a natural fit to go online. And before we started our own websites, which we later did, and it led us to so many awards, what we did on Amazon, and getting so much business around the world, that Amazon, Amazon's Amazon. I think everyone orders Amazon. So it was a natural fit to start the business and spend the money on Amazon, that the consumers, through the experience through Amazon, would later come back to us as individuals and start to do deals. So through the credibility of Amazon, it allowed, and all the rules and the policies and the refunds, it allowed it to start up in California to get traction, because people would rather buy with Amazon and the phones through Amazon because they knew Amazon was the return. You know, being an immigrant in a foreign country, they don't trust you until you trust you. So Amazon, they trust. So I was selling $900 phones or $700 phones or electronics, you know, wrong electronics, the house could catch a lot. But because it was Amazon and we were always climbing up the ranks, and most of the products we got to number one or Amazon choice, it was a natural fit.
So what I'm hearing is actually something I advocate for, especially new sellers. If you want to do business online, it's first of all very different than conventional business. You don't have somebody you're talking to. You don't have an actual product that you can actually pitch and negotiate or anything like that. In addition, everything is information driven. So your listings, your pictures, you know, that's what's doing the pitching for the product. And your pricing, you don't get the opportunity to reduce it if somebody wants to buy. It all has to be researched and assigned correctly. And then comes the real challenge of processes. You have to have an infrastructure. You need to have a technology infrastructure. So if you've never done this before and you're just going to start doing business, going with your website versus going with Amazon is the fundamental choice. And unfortunately, a lot of new sellers go the website route, and then they drain their money on driving traffic. And then, you know, if they get orders, so all those problems go away, and you actually learn to do online business by starting on Amazon first. You establish your own policies, your own procedures. You understand the impact of certain things you're doing, and then you can start your website. And of course, the beauty of Amazon is when you use their fulfillment, you don't have to worry about fulfillment, customer service, none of those things. So I always say, if you start with your website, first of all, you're going to spend a lot of money driving traffic, and nobody has unlimited resources to do that. But let's assume you do it. Then it's going to take a long time. Then let's assume you do it overnight, which you want. Then your best case scenario is you're going to get bombarded with orders. So now you have to have pick, pack, ship operation in-house, answer the phones, customers' refunds, and there's, you know, so what business are you in? You in online selling business, or are you in customer service, or in fulfillment, logistics? So it just goes nowhere. So that's why you made the wisest decision by starting on Amazon, because you just focused on generating revenue and let Amazon handle everything else. And of course, you ranked up your credibility in the process and learned the business, right?
Yeah. So it's exactly as you say. We grew so quickly from a startup. Within 3 months, we had 39 people.
Oh my God!
You know, it was the PPE. So we shifted focus for a while. We had people. We had seller fulfilled. We had fulfilled our own orders. It actually became with the PPE. People couldn't waste time. So we had the knowledge and the experience of people. We were shipping into Amazon during the day, and then at night we were packing the orders to ship direct to customers through Amazon. So it gave us the choice to do that. They could get from the Amazon centers, or they could get from us directly. Some days we were running 3 shifts. I mean, we were putting out 40,000 items. We couldn't get it into Amazon quick enough. And it was great. Our products were going all around the country. We never not delivered the masks within 1 day. And, you know, we made less profit because obviously when you're doing your own fulfillment, it's more expensive. But we gave the customers a service. No one went home until all the orders were finished. I was packing orders on a Saturday and a Sunday. We had all the management on a production line. It's I've actually got a video. It was like, it was crazy numbers. We but we never went home until it was done. And that's what helped build the brand.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course you come back the following day and you got as much again. So start all over again, right?
100%. So
Yeah.
it becomes 7 days a week.
Yeah. So so tell me about the use of, I want to get into how you made this happen, because in terms of launching listings, it's all about research, right? Research, and then you're looking at the numbers. So tell me about how you actually make use of the analytics that Amazon provides for you.
So what we did was we almost reversed engineered everything. So we'd see which are the best products in the category and would make you the most margin, because sometimes selling too cheap, you actually lose money because you got all the same fixed costs. So we had a content writer that was researching everything. We'd do competitors analysis. And then what we would do, we had videos, we had pictures, everything was in-house. So we weren't outsourcing anything. So every day we were able to get like 10 or 15 listings up. And eventually, I think we had close to 800, 850 listings in a short time, which I don't believe anyone's ever done so quickly. But it was sourcing the product correctly. It was having the things and also coming up with innovative pricing. You know, what we did was, you know, if it costs you $20 to ship a box, it only costs $30 to ship 2 boxes and $100 to ship 10. So we started using Amazon as a wholesale platform with our pricing strategies. I mean, we could even go up to 36,000 masks.
So this is another interesting point. So you were actually doing B2B business on Amazon, is that right?
Yeah, we were in the COVID store. We were supplying government institutions. We were supplying hospitals. And that's how we got all the credibilities with all the old age homes, the frail care facilities. You know, we were supplying the whole country, business, consumer, but everyone got the right price based on the quantities that they needed.
So tell me, when you created these listings, do you ever focus on how they are converting, or do you just simply focus on put the best price and then drive revenue as much as possible?
So I think I had all my analysts doing everything. I was on them like a rash, so to speak. I was on Amazon, looking at the competitors, looking at the rate of sale. Some prices would go up, some prices would go. It's a 24/7, so that's what I concentrated on, because I had all the analytics. You know, they say the grit from Africa. You know, Africa, our margins are so small. We don't have as many consumers. So every hour I would look at something. I would say, why is this down? Why is this up? Why are these images not there? Competitor A has 12 pictures. Why we've got 6? And because I didn't sit in front of the people and I could go away to an office, all I did was look at my phone, go through Amazon all day, and every day it was amazing. You'd wake up and you'd refocus your business. These 10 items, the KN95, the 3-ply mask, or batteries, because everyone needed batteries, you know, when there was a rush for the thermometers. So every day we would see where it was trending. Whatever was fixed, we kept fixed. Whatever was broken, we fixed. And that way, I don't think pro rata anyone had so many Amazon choices through such a wide category, you know. And to start, obviously, like I've done all my businesses, you start very wide and then you narrow it up. It was just taking too many resources. And then we concentrated on 30, 40 key lines, which were the most profitable. So my advice to someone is don't go as broad as I did. Start with 5 to 8 lines. And even if it's 6 months or a year, like less is more, because it's such a dynamic thing. Then someone doesn't like you and you've taken their market share, then they'll undercut you. They'll drop 50, 60%. They'll advertise on your thing. So you've got to be focused on less SKUs, less items, and zone in the whole time. Like you can't switch off on a Saturday and Sunday. That was a competitive advantage. I'm able to work 7 days a week. So my people weren't at the office, but I would tell them, and remotely they'd log on and fix the problem.
So as far as your advertising, were you running paid ads for your listings? I assume you were doing that, right?
Yeah. So because of the PPE category and stuff like that, and being a new company, in the beginning, I always say you spend more in the beginning and you reap the rewards later. So because I had the budget, you need to have a big budget, or you need to concentrate on 2 or 3 items. Because we were spending a couple of $100,000 a month sometimes.
What kind of a return were you getting on that at the beginning and also once they stabilized?
So at the beginning, you run into negative. So you need the cash flow. Then once the products get into the top 20 or the top 10, I think the sweet spot of the number where we made the most money was when the products were like number 30 to number 20, because everyone wants to be number 1. Mm-hmm. So we were making good returns. Probably.
Oh, that's interesting. So you are telling me that you don't really have to shoot to be number 1. You can be number 20, or that's number 20 is first page has 20 listings. Every page has 20 listings. So being number 20 still puts you on the first page. Number 30 is on the second page, right?
So when we got into the top 10, I would tell the guys to slow down. So I said, but Barry, why would you slow down? Because then you're in Amazon's eyes, you're in everyone's eyes. When you're in number 10 to 20, I always say you can float under the radar. No one's going to get a budget approved to compete against you, especially when you're a new company and everything you touch just goes to number 1. So we made our best return being in between, say, like number 10 to 30. So if you average around number 20, so what I tell people to do with your marketing is push till you get to number 20 and then spend accordingly. If you're growing to number 10 or number 8, like as I said, we were number 1 on the KN95s. I think we sold 60,000 packages in a day. I don't know the exact number. And then the next day we were suspended. But if I was number 20, I would have sold 10,000 packages and it took me 2 weeks to solve that problem. But then I would have sold more goods. So I say, you never want to be number 1. There's too much eyes on you and everything. So learnings are, for as soon as we come back and get everything up and running, we're going to try go between number 10 and 30.
Yeah. I guess you really were caught in a perfect storm, because you, first of all, as the selling strategy, you chose growth. I'm going to grow very fast, list so many products. So you were doing that as an entrepreneur, as anybody would want to do. And then comes the COVID situation, right? And you happen to be selling products that are COVID related, and that increases demand. And while all that's going on, Amazon says, wait a minute, there's too much bad behavior going on by sellers selling COVID-related products. So we're going to up the regulation. And of course, once Amazon takes an action, it's just the sledgehammer. They crush everybody. And then they start looking at who is good. I actually had a client also was selling masks, and they had been in business for 5-6 years. They had all the certifications, nothing to do with KN95. It was for like woodworkers, construction workers, but nevertheless, they were masks, air filtration masks. And sure enough, they got thrown out. And I actually had to reach out to the vice president of US marketplace. And I had a direct connection. And the same day, I got a phone call from his assistant telling me that my client is now being reinstated. They apologized. They had to up these regulations, but they are now going to be opening up to vetting. So basically, when things happen, the hammer comes down, everybody's out, and then they put a process in place, and then you have to go through the process, which is what you are talking about. It took you 2 weeks to do it, right?
Yeah. So even on the N95, we were importing directly from the manufacturer in Taiwan. We had all the documents. So one of the other sellers were selling fake ones. So they took us down because for 2 or 3 weeks, because someone else was selling fake. But we sent them all the documents immediately. We gave them the contact numbers. We showed them the shipping documents, everything. It was still 2 or 3 weeks of lost sales, which at that stage was probably $1 million or $2 million that I lost out on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
even more. So whatever my turnover was, if it was 10 million or 8 million, I don't know the exact figure. If I didn't have those suspensions, it would have been 100 million.
Yeah, I mean, those days, I remember it was like my client, they would load up inventory. And when I say load up inventory, they would have FBA shipments on the way, and it would get received within like a few hours, it would be gone. So
We were
it was
set-
like everything getting sucked.
I would get a beep on my phone for everything. We were selling gloves and masks. My phone, I had to recharge it, was beeping like 10 times a second. It was almost like it was like my alarm clock. It was just beeping, beep. I had to like, and I had two phones. So one was the phone account, and it was beeping the whole night everywhere. It was started to drive me mad. I had to put my phone in the garage.
Well, it's I guess it's a nice noise, right? So you make it.
I call it jingle bells.
So
dollar every time.
So you mentioned this before about doing your own fulfillment. You're doing FBA. So tell us about what you used, FBA or FBM. What are the advantages, especially for new sellers? What would be the best practice? What do you recommend?
So you have to have your stock in Amazon. People, we live in a society with instant gratification. People don't want to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks for their product. So I think you need a combination of both. You can't put all your money in the stuff because it could be in the wrong area. It could be in Ohio and they need it in Vegas. But I would probably say a 80-20 split. Amazon, that's what they're good at. They're a lot better than me and a lot cheaper. And I think I'm one of the best from a logistics point of view. There's a reason why they're Amazon and we're on their website. So use their fulfillment. Just, you got to be careful not to overstock it. And then all the problems before come through, then you're stuck with your stock. So depending on how much you sell, always keep a buffer behind. But I would say 80% must be fulfilled by them. And then sometimes, when they have delays and it's 2 weeks, then you can fulfill it yourself. So you can't work in isolation, but their costs are so much cheaper than yours. You don't need as many people. You're not breaking it up. You're shipping it in. I think we had 19 people doing our own orders at one stage, like 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, because the demand can get like that. So when you start on Amazon, you got to know that the demand can be like that. And as you said, are you a logistics company or are you an online seller? So we became a logistics company just because in that time, 80 or 90% of the we couldn't ship in quick enough. And if we could fulfill it ourselves, we got the order. If they wait, because it was 2 or 3 weeks sometimes on Amazon, then we didn't get the order. So you have to have the ability to both, and you have to be flexible. So you got to analyze what's selling and whatever. So I wouldn't say there's a specific percentage, but I would change it every week and see what's selling and stuff like that. I know for phones, because it's so expensive and a high value item, you got to ship it yourself because it can't get lost in the system and the storage and being suspended, because you need to pay and you need to turn and you need to ship as quickly as possible. And for a phone, people will wait 2 or 3 days. So
this, you just made a very important point. So what I'm hearing is, first of all, don't send too much inventory because it hurts your index, right? They have this thing called IPI, Inventory Performance Index. So if it goes down, then your rates go up, right? They charge you more. So they don't want to be a storage company. So in addition, if suddenly something happens, you don't want your inventory stuck at Amazon facility. So always keep something behind. But more important, high ticket items, don't do Prime, ship it yourself. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, because I'm saying it eats all your cash flow. if you can't sell it on Amazon and it slows down, you got to sell it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it can be a 6 or 8 week cycle to try get your stock back, and then it can come back damaged. I mean, and models change in the high end range so quickly that it's better to ship it yourself. And if you're making $30-40 on a phone, you don't need to save the $1 or $2 from Amazon.
Exactly.
So pay up and get it delivered, and the customers are happy.
So talk about your team, because you mentioned you had so many people, but I mean, having done this myself, when you are shipping yourself, more 80% of your team is basically fulfillment people, picking, packing, shipping, not even customer service, but shipping, churning so many orders. But as far as driving the business, other than outside the fulfillment team, tell us about what it takes to be successful. What kind of a team, and describe the roles. What are the roles? And what do you outsource? What do you keep in-house? And then what are the things that you do yourself, you don't let anybody else touch?
So what we did was, it was a massive team. So if you want to launch on Amazon now, it's a 6-month planning process to get all the pictures. You need photographers, you need cameramen. You need to source the products generally from China or Taiwan or the Far East. You need to work out duties. You need the stuff to land. So we had a team of 39 people based all around the world. We had people in China, we had people in South Africa, people in London. So it was a combination of getting the best of everything. We chose to do everything in-house, but in an ideal world, you would outsource as much as possible. So we had good cameramen, we had good videos, but we didn't have the best in the world, right? And when the demand came back, you need to outsource. So I'd say start with your own team. When someone would phone, they would say, can I speak to marketing? I would answer. If someone would phone, can I speak to finance? I would answer. So everyone had different roles. Like I almost say it was like a rugby team starting out, and no one wore a jersey. No one was number 1. No one was number 15. Some people were answering customer service. Some people were on the packaging line. I spent time in the video room. So what I'm saying, you need all rounders, because there's a crisis all the time. So you can't just say, I'm the video person. We had the video person packing stock. We had the computer programmer, person building out our own website at $40-50 an hour on the conveyor belt. So
knowing what you know now, how would you structure an organization or an operation, an Amazon operation?
So knowing what I know now, I would have a lot less products. I would have someone sourcing the products overseas, and I would outsource as much as possible. One of the mistakes which people don't realize, and it comes back to the previous point about, do you sell in Amazon or don't you sell in Amazon? My warehouse was in California. Now, when you're shipping from California to New York, that's 6 days, and you're paying a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were selling it from California to California, it would be the same day. So my advice is, you got to try set up your facility in the middle of the country, because then your costs are less. So a lot of the successful people and a lot of the cell phone guys that move phones, they all move to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they move to Dallas? It's a cheaper rate. So I would set up operation in Dallas or one of the lower paying, because your cost per hour is cheaper than the Californias. And then you can ship anywhere in 3 days. Then you don't have
That's
to pay.
if you are doing your own shipping.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
if you do FBA, then you don't need to worry about that.
Correct. But you always need to worry about it, because there's always issues. There's always problems. There's always spikes, especially with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and month end and different periods. So you will build up a history. So from a cost point of view, you've got to be in the middle of the country. So people have to take that into account. It's very hard in New York to supply into California. So that obviously works out how much stock that you have to have. So if you're in the middle of the country and people will buy your product because you know it's 2 or 3 days and you're paying $4 for shipping as opposed to $8, it helps with your GP. That $2 or $3 is the difference between selling 60 items of a line or 20,000 items.
Yeah.
So
this is actually a good segue to my next question. So what are some things that a seller should expect during the peak times, like the Prime Day, like the shopping season in general, or Black Friday, and especially now, the post-pandemic world? What are some things that you should expect, and then what to do about it?
Okay, so I always say be proactive. If you know it's a busy time, have all the orders packed and ready. Then they just need a label. So what we did was we had a conveyor built. Even when we didn't have orders, everything was ready to ship. So it was just a matter of putting the product there. So on the bulk times and the peak times, have extra staff, because you know you only have X amount of time to fulfill the orders. So gear up. Make sure you know that you don't run out of stock over that time. So if there are 4 or 5 peak buying times through the year, make sure you have extra stock. Always have extra stock, because the last thing you want to do is run out of stock when it's your chance. That's your chance to make money. You have 4 or 5 chances to really make money. So make sure you gear up your marketing for them. You submit all your orders and all your changes, because a lot of them have to be approved, and the file has to be uploaded on time. Like once for Black Friday, our file wasn't uploaded at time, and we lost out on 3 or 4 hours of because there was a big lineup of people. So always be prepared. So if you think you need to do something by the Monday, have it done by the Friday. So always have like a 48 or 72 hour buffer zone, because it will help you.
One of the guests in the previous episode said during the busy times, it's a good practice to send for FBA sellers, not to send one big shipment. Instead, send multiple small shipments, because some of those shipments, there may be delays, or they may get lost, or the receiving, it is received, but the receiving process takes longer. So it holds up the entire shipment. So she said that, I thought that was very smart. Just send several small shipments rather than one big one.
So that's what we did every single day. Amazon truck, sometimes, or Sprinter, sometimes they came in the morning, sometimes they came in the afternoon. Every day we spent in small shipments. That is the best way, because then it's constantly being fulfilled. And a big order, you can go a thing, and sometimes they send it to different fulfillment centers. So the more often you get onto the roster, the more chances of it's getting in quicker. So that is the best advice. That's what we've done also.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's key. So tell us about your Amazon journey. Where do you see yourself, and where do you want to be? What else is there for you to do? Obviously, you've achieved a lot, so you know the system. You're constantly coming up with products. So tell us about your journey in general.
Okay, so, you know, as I said earlier, you start off very wide to get the brand out there, and then you see where the niches are. So we're probably going to come for round 2 with a lot higher value products, because you have the same fixed costs. To sell a charger and to sell an $800 phone, it's almost the same marketing costs. It's the same pictures. It's the same everything. So we're going to come with a lot better brand. You know, now everyone's had the cables and the chargers and that. Now we're going to do the phones. We're going to do the Apple phones, the Samsung phones, and we're going to do very, very unique high-end brands, because we know how to sell. You know, and the first time, you know, for me, 15% margin doesn't excite me as much as it does other people. So we're going to concentrate more on the high-end margin categories, and we're going to set it up more cleverly. And we've got our own travel sims, which are launching for all over the world, that the people will be able to get before anyone else, and we'll explain it properly. And it's an annuity-based model. So how it works is you supply them a SIM card, they can use it for life, but every time they load and they travel, you get a percentage of a commission. For example, if you sell a thing of luggage, which we did, we made $20 on the luggage, it's great. That's $20 once off. Now, all our products that we're going to do are going to have subscriptions and annuity-based products and add-ons. So the aim is that you're constantly getting a revenue supply from your first point of contact. So then the customer will have a travel SIM. Then you can use it for life. So for the next 30, 40 years, maybe 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 10 years, every time he travels, he's got that product already. So I might make $5 on day one, but the more SIM cards I put out and the more subscriptions I put out, then you build a nice annuity base. Then it covers you, your fixed costs are always covered. That's how I built my businesses around the world. You add on subscribers and you get annuity income. So there's no better income than annuity. It's better than selling off a once-off product.
So what I'm hearing is it's not just selling the product once, but try to come up with a way that can earn recurring revenue for you, right? With your product, whether in your case, of course, you have the SIM cards. That's the perfect example. But if there is a way for you to have some kind of a subscription plan to add, so that's the best.
Even if you discount your products on the subscription model, it's the best because you're going to get the customer 12 or 24 times or 36 times if you supply them 1, 2, or 3 year plan. And then you're able to engage with the customer all the time because then you're using the Amazon platform to find the customer, and then he's constantly using your products. Once he gets your product every month, people always say to me, Barry, what's next? Well, oh, wow, you went onto the website. Well, we use this. How do we get it cheaper? We need cables for 12 months. Every month we need a cable, but I don't want to pay $30 and I don't want to have 12 in one go. So can you send me one every month? And that is the way to build your business with subscriptions and annuity-based income.
Yeah.
So if you can find annuity-based incomes that it's not, they can use the product and they have to recharge somewhere, or they have to top up, or they have to do a scratch card. And every time you organize with your supplier or you're the supplier, there's a commission. That's the way to build a proper business. Because then if Amazon kicks me off for a month, well, I've been off for 4 months, so I've been developing these other products. I don't mind. I've already made all my money in my annuity from all the SIM cards that I sold. So it doesn't matter that I'm not getting new revenue.
Yeah.
So having annuity base is the best business in the world.
So, so tell us, if you could wish one thing for Amazon to change in their policies for third-party sellers, what do you think that would be?
So I think it's their communication, and not to suspend anyone, rather communicate. I always say two-way communication is better. So you almost feel like you're being bullied. So I'd say not to be bullied, to communicate and say, well, you got 3 days. We don't like this. We don't like that. Change this, change that image. So it's having them being more proactive as opposed to reactive, because for them, it doesn't matter. For a small seller or medium-sized seller, it can actually end your business. So I would say just communicate. So communication.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, because we have Amazon people also listening to this podcast. So it's a good idea to put out there, from seller's standpoint, what would be a big improvement to their relationships. I'm sure they care about it. So that pretty much, go ahead.
On that point, because, I'm one of those people that will say it as it is, because I'm not from here, I would be very happy to sit and have a course or a 3-day course with the senior leadership of Amazon, going through all my findings from the last 3 years, how they could improve their business and how they could improve the engagement with customers. So if you are listening, reach out to me free of charge. It will help all the other sellers that aren't in my financial position, and the ability to give back from learning. let my life experiences, because I didn't get it all right. I mean, now I get it all right, but I would like to offer that feedback free of charge to the top 6 guys at Amazon, because they would know that I was the fastest growing customer, how it went so well, how it went a little bit wrong, and what the potential is. But I'll help everyone. The ability to give back is the best.
So, Barry, there is also an event that takes place that I don't know if they resumed the actual in-person events, but they have these seller conferences around the country, and they also invite to Seattle. So I'm not sure if they do such a thing during those conferences, but those conferences are very useful because they usually announce something that is coming out or they plan to roll out, and they showcase things, and it's primarily designed to have interaction with third-party sellers. And but I mean, I agree with you. Well, I always say this, with Amazon as a third-party seller, you are guilty until proven innocent. If something goes wrong, doesn't matter. You are guilty. That's how you are treated. There's no communication, one email, totally impersonal, and then you've got people constantly sending back the same response over and over and over, and then you have to escalate. It's I mean, I hear you. Don't get me wrong, there are so many bad actors out there, so they deserve it. But the good ones, there has to be a better way. So I mean, that's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? So you run into something and say there has to be a better way. So in this case, for Amazon, it has to be a better way to deal with the third-party sellers. So Barry, this is great. I mean, I feel for you because I've gone through the same kind of growth curve you did, and same troubles that you had directly myself, as well as a client of mine recently during COVID. So, but you'll pull through it. That's the process. You never give up. You just pull through it. So before we wrap up, so tell us about who Barry Taitz is. What are your passions? Where do you live? And what do you like to do outside watching your beeping phone for Amazon orders? Tell us about who you are and how people can find you.
Okay, so I always say my smile is my reputation and my personality. I'm a very outgoing person. I played sport my whole life. I grew up in a very poor family. So all the successes that I have the most gratitude. I was very good at sport growing up. So sport has allowed me, particularly rugby, to travel over the world, represent my country. I love traveling. I love going into the heart of the communities. I like to say I'm truly the only global CEO, group CEO in the world that really is in the heart of the communities. I break bread with all my customers. They're all my friends. I invite them to my weddings and my family's things. I'm a father of 3 daughters, and I think I'm a very good husband to my wife, Gina. So I spend a lot of my time with my kids. We travel, we swim, we have fun. I love to swim in cold water. And I love to give back to the communities and the people that I work with. I always have a saying that less is more. I'm one of those people that people ask me how I managed to do everything that I've done. And I say, if we didn't need money, I'd work for free. That's the type of person that I am. And anyone that comes on a journey with me, I always say 1 + 1 = 9. So, together we can help everyone. I like to grow. If anyone does any good things, I like to, the first one, to compliment them. And, the final thing is, I say, because I work very hard and I travel around the world, people sometimes tell me I'm crazy. So sometimes crazy people are the ones who think they can change the world, are the ones that actually go out there and do it. So I want to change the world. I want to create the next generation of entrepreneurs the Barry way. Because
by the way, that's what Steve Jobs said. So you're following in his footsteps.
Look, someone said to me the other day, Barry, all the successes you've achieved, are you the next Elon Musk? And I said, Elon's done great. He's South African, I share his passion and his vision, but I want to be the best Barry Taitz. So to answer your job about Steve, like they will write papers, how I grew a business around not taking on any debt, not having any banks, not having any shareholders, taking all of it on my own. But I built it at my own speed and I had fun and I carried on with my sport. I mean, I played rugby at 38. I represented South Africa at the Maccabi Games. And then 4 years later, I went back as a manager. I've been 4 or 5 times. I've climbed Kilimanjaro. I've done the New York Marathon. So I have one saying, no, it's not a word. It's not impossible. And I want to go out and change the world. I know data is the new future. It's the white gold. So just like Elon knew, everyone knew electronics was the future, electronic cars. But Elon went out and did it. So I'm saying to the world, data is the future. It's the white gold. And I'm going to be the first one that brings it to the masses. I'm hopefully going into Ethiopia very soon, which is a greenfield area with Vodacom. And if you get connectivity and 4G and 5G and to the people and the unemployed people, it creates jobs and it creates employment. And through the mobile phones that I sell, I want to create the next media company. Because once you have the phone, you own the customer and you own the distribution, a bit like Amazon does. You own the customer, you own the distribution. So that's what I want to use the phone for, and actually build the biggest media company in the world through the handsets and through the SIM cards and eSIMs and data, and bring it as cheap as possible to the masses without having any fixed costs or any ego.
So how can people find you, Barry? Give us your website.
I'm everywhere. So if you look left or you look right, you can find me. No. So it's bluebeatdigital.com. And I'm one of those people. My personal email is bigbluecell@gmail.com. So that's bigbluecell@gmail.com. And I'll respond to everyone. And it might not be straight away. I'll repeat it. It's bigbluecell@gmail.com.
Okay. All right. Well, that's been great. I have no doubt, having done what you've done, it's already, it speaks volumes. So there you have it, everyone. You've heard from a true entrepreneur and a real fighter. He's done a lot, but he's going to be doing a lot more from the way things look. And that pretty much is the end. And thanks again for tuning in, and look out for our next episode. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.